welcome to Axiom Flux News. Today's date's the 10th of January 2015. I'm PJ. I'm going to start you off with some late night news from Axiom Curb. This article from the Mirror. It's taxpayers subsidise greedy 0 hours contact, but I think that's supposed to say contract, firms by paying millions in top-up benefits to struggling workers. The unfair contracts mean workers have no fixed hours or wage and must rely on benefits to make ends meet, which could cost the public $36 million a year. It's not only poorly paid staff who suffer as grasping bosses use 0 hour contracts, the taxpayer is footing the bill too. The unfair contracts mean workers have no fixed hours or wage and must rely on benefits to make ends meet. Officially, 622,000 people are on such deals, but unions estimate the real figure is at least 1 million. They estimate the real figure is at least 1 million, with some workers holding more than one job. The number of 0 hour deals may hit 1.5 million this year, the Sunday People revealed last week. The union body estimated a family of 4 where one parent earns the average 0 hours pay of £188 a week is likely to qualify for £14,500 a year in benefits. If the family rents a 3-bedroom house, housing association flat with a Band D council tax for £100 a week, it would be entitled £116.38 child tax credit, £48.99 working tax credit, £17.26 council tax support, and £62.13 in housing benefit. On top of these weekly payments, it would also get £34.03 a week in child benefit paid to all but the highest earners. Even if only a quarter of the billion workers on 0 hours are entitled to such levels of welfare, it will cost the Treasurer £36 million a year. This is Frances O'Grady, the General Secretary of the TUC, the TUC. She says it's unfair. In work, benefits play a vital role. Without them, we'd see even more working families visiting food banks. But bad bosses shouldn't be allowed to abuse them, so they can dodge giving their workers guaranteed hours of work and decent pay. So, as the case grows with the 0 hour contracts in the UK, moving on to other things, what people have been struggling with on large numbers is the energy. Complaints to UK energy watchdog Ofgem triple as household bills rise. 52,308 complaints recorded in 2014 is up by 191% on 2013, the previous year, as bills soared amid mounting consumer dissatisfaction. Complaints to the energy watchdog Ofgem have almost tripled as bills have soared. Soaring energy bills have become an increasingly important political issue, with all party leaders seeking to offer a solution. It is estimated that the average UK household spends £1,265 on energy last year, £53 more than in the year before, of 2013, and £271 more than 3 years ago. Billing-related issues were the top cause of complaints in 2014 of last year, according to the Energy Ombudsman, accounting for 85% of all complaints recorded, 44,385, and up 196 on 2013. So the bills are increasing, with the standing charges added onto that, and people, many people getting put on meters and struggling to keep it going. And also, to add on top of that is your insurance that people are getting. Our £19 a month peace of mind policy let us down the boiler cover that can leave you out in the cold. Policies promising a quick fix for your boiler if it breaks down are being aggressively marketed by cold callers and can cost up to £30 a month, but are often not worth the paper they're printed on. There's a little article here, an investigation. British households are spending over £1 billion a year on central heating cover, according to estimates by the Mail on Sunday. But experts warn these products often don't provide value for money, or even a fast response when the pilot light goes out. About 10 million homeowners purchase these policies to cover unexpected domestic disasters, such as the boiler breaking down, the central heating failing, or pipes bursting. So, that's another thing to chuck your money at. Moving on. Average household water's bill to rise by 3.5 to £388 a year. This is just a quick graph here to show you the average combined bill of 2013 and 14 for your water and sewerage up and down the country, not including Scotland, just England and Wales. As you can see there, it's quite high. So another thing to add on to that is the fluoridation that's been put into the water. There are oral health crises in low-income areas that have been fluoridated for decades. Fluoridation has not prevented low-income neighbourhoods from suffering what numerous state and local health officials describe as a crisis. It is unclear, therefore, how fluoridation can be expected to alleviate the alleged oral health crisis in Sonoma County when it has failed to prevent such crisis in areas where they have fluoridated for 30 to 60 years. Article goes on to say fluoridation is not dental care, and continues with some comments at the bottom, which I did get time to read through earlier, and I thought they were quite interesting. So this is from the 1st of January. If you want to have a look at this, it's quite an interesting read. And I think the only other things I've got to add on to that is child poverty statistics and facts. This is taken from Bernardo's. There are currently 3.5 million children living in poverty in the UK. That's almost a third of all children. 1.6 million of these children live in severe poverty. In the UK, 63% of children living in poverty are in a family where someone works. These child poverty stats and facts will help to give you an idea of the scale of child poverty in the UK and the effect it can have on a child's education, child's health, and the day-to-day lives of families. Does child poverty affect children's health? 3 years old in households with incomes below about £10,000 are 2.5 times more likely to suffer chronic illness than children in households with incomes above £52,000. Infant mortality is 10% higher for infants with lower social group than the average. Does poverty affect a child's education? Only 48% of 5-year-olds entitled to free school meals have a good level of development at the end of their reception year, compared to 67% of all of the pupils. Less than half of pupils entitled to free school meals, just 36%, achieve 5 GCSEs at C or above, including English and Maths. This compares to 63% of pupils who are not eligible. How much money do families living in poverty have? Well, families living in poverty can have as little as £12 a day per person to buy everything they need, such as food, heating, toys, clothes, electricity, and transport. How does poverty affect families? Well, 1.6 million children are growing up in homes which are too cold. 41% of children in the poorest fifth of households are in families who can't afford to replace broken electrical goods, compared with just 3% of children in the richest households. 59% of children in the poorest fifth of the households have parents who would like to, but cannot afford to take their children for a holiday away from home for 1 week a year. This only applies to 6% of children in the richest fifth. And at the bottom here, it says the government has a statutory requirement enshrined in the Child Poverty Act 2010 to end child poverty by 2020. However, it is predicted that by 2020 to 21, another 1 million children will be pushed into poverty as a result of the coalition government's policies. So, to summarise pretty much all of these articles together, I've chose this article from a couple of days ago from the Owl News. A man pleads guilty in grave digging in search of a real will. Now I'll tell you why I picked this article up. Is because I was just trying to put out there what, you know, the lengths and depths that people go to trying to find some, you know, some money. A New Hampshire man accused of helping a woman ransack her father's grave in search of his real will pleaded guilty in a plot prosecutor described as something out of an Edgar Allan Poe story. Michael Dane, 38, pleaded guilty Wednesday to charges including criminal mischief for breaking into the vault that held the remains of businessman Eddie Nash. Nash's daughter Melanie and 2 others were also charged. Police said cash, a bottle of vodka, cigarettes were taken from the grave, but there was no will. So just, you know, to get an idea of what people are willing to do. So overall, on a global scale, global economic meltdown, 3 signs the world economy could be in deep, deep trouble. Plummeting oil prices have shocked the globe and severely wounded the Russian ruble. China's extreme spending yet slowing growth threatens India's economic ambitions. Japan's economy is expected to grow only modestly this year, while the Eurozone countries are fighting against a weak economy of their own. Around the globe, there are signs of a potential economic meltdown at every turn. Below are 3 prominent factors that could determine whether world leaders will be able to turn around their economies in 2015 of this year and avoid an economic fall that would likely take years to recover from. So, number 1, deflation in the Eurozone. The euro has plummeted and oil prices and bond yields within Eurozone countries have gone down with it as well. On Wednesday, inflation for these areas went negative for the first time since 2009, was reported by Reuters. With expectations for the European Central Bank to print more euros, it fell to 1.1819 on Wednesday. Meanwhile, countries including Austria, Belgium, Canada, Australia, Japan, Germany have all reached record lows for long-term borrowing. And oil is not showing any signs of rising, with Brent crude dropping below $50 Tuesday. Last June it was more than $115. Number 2, mixed signals from unemployment in Europe. While unemployment is seeing some signs of relief in the United States, it's a mixed picture in Europe. Germany is doing well, hitting its record low unemployment rate of 6.5% in December, while Italy is suffering from its worst unemployment ever. In November, for example, the country saw its highest unemployment rate since it began recording unemployment stats in 1977. Even Pope Francis has shown concern about unemployment numbers, as he said in June that the global economy was in danger. So he took upon himself to take a trip out to Romania a week or 2 ago, to tell them all to integrate into society and start looking for some sort of job. Number 3 is the US Treasury bond yields fall below 2%. Investors are looking for safe bets and fleeing stocks in favour of bonds. In an effort to protect their investments and with increasing fears about what's happening in the Eurozone and how it may affect the US, many have fled to US Treasuries. On Tuesday, the 10-year Treasury note hit its lowest point since May 2013, dipping below 2%. This is accompanied by the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which has started 2015 very poorly. This week, Bill Gross, bond manager of Janus Capital and former manager of PIMCO, weighed in with advice in his 2015 investment outlook. He said that with asset returns going south, investors should consider treasuries and high-quality corporate bonds. He wrote, "Be cautious and content with low positive returns in 2015. The time for risk-taking has passed." So there you go. There are my many articles I've tried to wrap up together to give you some idea of the situations, mainly in UK, to where most of these articles apply, but just to round it all off, a global look, Andy. How's that for you?
Yeah, crikey. You've got a few articles there to touch on. I won't touch on them all because as regards utilities, gas and all that business, well, it wasn't that long ago when the utilities belonged to the people. I'm old and ugly enough to remember that. Nobody would believe that now in the younger generation. But say, why are you paying twice or 3 times? How many times do you want to pay for the same service? But the minds are closed, so they can't understand that. But I think your article with the child poverty sums it up. I mean, people should. It doesn't work, does it? It clearly, all of this is all on a negative, with the world's economies and everything. Whatever they're doing doesn't work. It's never worked, and it isn't going to work. So global meltdown, yeah, in more ways than one, definitely. It's gone too far south to save anything in the capitalistic world. It's over. It's finished, and the monetary system's finished. But
yeah, the oil's going down, water's going up. You've got your silver going up. Many more signs out there.
all I could say to people is educate yourself. Educate yourself. Look at history. They say it repeats, but it rhymes. It certainly does rhyme. You know, if you've got anything to lose, that I don't think most people have or got anything to lose anymore. It's all debt. It's all credit debt. So there's nothing to worry about if you've got nothing to lose, is there?
That's it. Get your widget ready. Get your widget ready, Andy.
Hey?
It's a weird widget.
Which one?
You pick tonight. You have a.
Well, I don't know what I've got actually. Money creation and society. I think I would.
I think that's appropriate.
Well,
For those that have not heard this.
I've got to find it first, PJ. But it doesn't work, does it? I mean,
No,
the message
not.
there to all of it is, it doesn't work. All this policies and this and bonds and the financial market. Yeah. I think everybody else in the Western world is gonna suffer to prop up the Ponzi scheme for the Americans, if you want to look at it like that, until eventually they'll pull the hammer on the whole lot, pull the lever on the whole lot. I think that's basically what it's going to be all about. So anyway, I can't find my widget. We'll leave it for tonight. Oh, there it is. We'll hit it then, PJ.
Debate on money creation and society, and I invite the Honourable Gentleman Wickham to move the motion. Steve Baker.
I beg to move that this House has considered the subject of money creation and society. The methods of money production in society today are profoundly corrupting in ways which would matter to everyone if they were clearly understood. the essence of this debate is who should be allowed to create money, how, and at whose risk. It's no wonder that it has attracted support from across the political spectrum, although I think looking around the chamber, the Rochester and Stroud by-election has perhaps taken its toll. But I'm grateful to honourable and right honourable friends from all political parties, including the honourable gentleman for Clacton, the honourable lady for Brighton Pavilion, the honourable gentleman for Oldham, West and Royton for their support in securing this debate. One of the most memorable quotes about money and banking is usually attributed to Henry Ford. He said, "It's well enough that people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." Well, let's hope we don't have a revolution, Mr. Speaker, but I feel sure we're all conservative on this side. How's it done? Well, the process is so simple, the mind is repelled. Whenever a bank makes a loan, it simultaneously creates a matching deposit in the borrower's bank account, thereby creating new money. Many times I've been told that this is ridiculous, even by one employee who'd previously worked for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation of the United States. The explanation is actually taken from the Bank of England article, Money Creation in the Modern Economy. It seems to me rather hard to dismiss.
But dismiss it they do. Joe Public dismisses it, and that speaks that that pretty much covers it really. People realised how money was created by them. Oh, Firefox has had a problem.
Oh, have you got a script crash, have you? Well, on that note, we're going to pass it over to you, ready for you to do yours, but we'll bear in. We'll give you a minute, see how it goes. Still got your with us? Okay, I think we've lost Andy in his portion of the Flux news. I'm not sure if we can re-establish a connection with him. Okay, are you there, Andy?
Yeah, I think I'm back.
Oh yeah, you're back.
I've got a bit of wobbling on your audio, PJ. I'm not sure if it's my end.
I'm not too sure myself. Do you want to give news a shot? And
I'll give my we'll press on with mine what we got. Andy,
over to you.
Okay, if I can share a screen. There we go. Okay, and basically what we got here, if it loads and I don't get a script crash, well, most of them will come from this tonight. It's about anyway. I'll just go straight to the article. We'll get on with it. Drug company will soon hold patent on THC CBD as cancer cures. UK pharmaceutical company specialising in the research and development of cannabis-based drugs recently obtained an early approval on a patent covering 2 specific cannabinoids used for treating brain cancer. Medical marijuana for all reports GW Pharmaceuticals announced Wednesday that it has been issued a notice of allowance from the US Patent Office, for a patent application involving the use of THC and CBD, the 2 main chemicals in marijuana for treating gliomas. Once a patent application is deemed a genuine invention, the Patent Office sends a notice of allowance that outlines the fees involved with final approval. Specifically, the company provides a description of the patent. The subject patent specifically covers a method for treating glioma in a human using a combination of cannabinoid, CBD, and tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, wherein the cannabinoids are in a ratio of 1:1 to 1:20 THC/CBD with the intent to reduce cell viability, inhibit cell growth, or reduce tumor volume. Filed in 2009, GW's patent application lists Otsuka Pharmaceutical as a collaborator and initially claimed the invention of the use of combination of cannabinoids in the manufacture of medicament for use in the treatment of cancer. However, it's likely that the application was revised since then to be more specific in its claims, including the ratio of THC to CBD used and the type of cancer treated. Indeed, the use of cannabis and cannabis-derived chemicals to fight a wide range of cancers has long been suggested by preclinical research as well as anecdotal reports. On the other hand, the first clinical trial to investigate these cancer treatments only began last month, launched by GW Pharmaceuticals for their cannabis drug Sativex. The trial investigates Sativex in combination with the standard chemotherapy drug temozolomide and involves 20 patients with recurrent glioblastoma multiforme (GBM), an aggressive and rare form of brain cancer. GW Pharmaceuticals also announced in November that it had begun human trials of CBD-rich cannabis drug for the treatment of pediatric epilepsy. Well, you know, the old cannabis plant. There you go. It's come good after all. Well, most people know it's been good for many, many years. And if you check out Rick Simpson's oil, he's been doing it for a long time and treating people. It's nothing new. But there you go. It's slightly, what's the word for it? I can't really put it into words, but basically, I think taking people for fools is one word for it, and I suppose the sheeple will go, oh wow, you know, they found a cure for cancer. Oh wow, it must be real because it's a pharmaceutical company, and anything that's only real comes from a pharmaceutical company. Anyway, I've had my little jest on that. I'll move on to the next one because it kind of.
Can I just add to that, Andy?
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Am I able to set your screen for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll just quickly show this and pass it straight back. Should be able to see that, yeah?
Okey-doke. Yep.
This is a website that's been brought to my attention quite recently, cannabis.com. I've not really had the time to go into, look into it in detail, but it seems a rather, decent website, so I thought I'd throw this out there and, bring it to your attention, like somebody did to me. Maybe, it could be something you want to decide looking into at a later date. Yeah, that's all on there. Just want to share that with people.
Okay, no worries.
Back over to you. Share your screen again.
Okay, doke. This is about Ebola. Vaccine skips test, should be worried. And I'll tell you the reason why I brought this up, apart from the obvious reasons. An Ebola vaccine could be ready in a little time as 2 months from now, as GlaxoSmithKline, I'll hear more about them later, have been given the go-ahead to skip normal medical tests in order to rush through the experimental vaccine. There will be no safety data collected on the vaccine in an effort to allow doctors to administer the vaccine to the general public. The lack of regulation and lack of safety checks associated with this vaccine has been described as unprecedented by Dr. Margaret Chan, Director General of WHO, MedicalDaily.com reports. Final stage trials of experimental Ebola vaccines will begin in January or February in the worst hit West African countries as scientists and drug makers drug makers race to block the deadly disease, the World Health Organization said on Thursday. If effective, the shots will be available for deployment a few months later. Nearly 90 experts from vaccine manufacturers, regulatory agencies and health ministers met at WHO headquarters to review data from the initial safety trials and finalise plans for the pivotal phase 3 clinical trials in Liberia, Sierra Leone and Guinea. It is my understanding that no major safety signals have been reported to date, WHO Director General Margaret Chan told the talks in opening remarks obtained by Reuters. We all want the momentum and sense of urgency to continue, she said. Too many healthcare workers are still getting infected, including national doctors and nurses for foreign medical teams. I mean, I'll leave that article there. I will move straight on, just to say briefly that, you know, these scientists have known about cannabis from the previous article, and its powers of shrinking tumours for a long time. They've known about it ages ago, and they've been doing trials. Some people have been, I think, have been doing trials for years and years, but there is no need for that. But I've only just started after plenty of anecdotal evidence of people over decades treating themselves and being treated and cured cancer. And yet something like this Ebola vaccine will be rushed out within months, which to their own rules should be 20 years minimum for testing before it goes on general, just to be generally used by doctors in surgeries from all over the world. So widespread use. So, you know, they're even piddling on their own. There's probably been over 1,000 people in West Africa killed by this Ebola, yet there's been tens of hundreds of millions of people dying of cancer, and they're suppressed, and now they're saying that, you know, they're going to use it pharmaceutically now that they can put a patent on it. It just totally disgusts me, but I'll move on anyway. Let's go on to hear from this Ebola to this. Ebola and AIDS were manufactured by pharmaceuticals and US military. It needs to be said that there is evidence to say that this is what they've been up to. Join the dots yourself if you want. Some scientists allege that disease such as Ebola and AIDS are bioweapons being tested on the African population. Other reports have linked the Ebola virus outbreak to an attempt to reduce Africa's population. In an interesting article on LiberianObserver.com, they say, advertisement 1. Ebola is a genetically modified organism, GMO. Howitt's 1998 was deliberate and innocuous when he explained the threat of a new disease in his text, Engineering Viruses, AIDS and Ebola, Nature, Accident or International. In his interview with Dr. Robert Stryker in Chapter 7, the discussion in the early 1970s made it obvious that the war was between countries that hosted the KGB and the CIA, and the manufacture of AIDS-like viruses was clearly directed at the other. In passing during the interview, mention was made of Fort Derrick, the Ebola building, and a lot of problems with a strange illness in Frederick, Maryland. By Chapter 12 in his text, he had confirmed the existence of the American military medical industry that conducts biological weapons tests under the guise of administering vaccinations to control diseases and improve the health of black Africans overseas. The book is an excellent text, and all leaders plus anyone who has interest in science, health, people, intrigued should study it. I'm amazed that African leaders are making no acknowledgement or reference to these documents. Ebola has a terrible history, and testing has been secretly taken place in Africa. I'm now reading The Hot Zone, a novel by Richard Preston, copyrighted 1989-1994. It is heartrending. The prolific and prominent writer Stephen King is quoted as saying that the book is one of the most horrifying things he's ever read. What a remarkable piece of work as a New York Times bestseller. Hot Zone is presented as a terrifying true story, Terrifying, yes, because the pathological description of what was found in animals killed by Ebola virus in what the virus has been doing to citizens of Guinea, Sierra Leone and Liberia in its most recent outbreak. Ebola virus destroys people's internal organs and the body deteriorates rapidly after death. It, excuse me, it softens and the tissues turn into jelly, even if it's refrigerated to keep it cold. Spontaneous liquefaction is what happens to the body of people killed by Ebola viruses, the author noted in point 1. Dr. Harvey's Childs, the hot zone for writing to be politically correct. I understand because his book makes every effort to be very factual. The 1976 Ebola incident in Zaire during President Mobutu Sese Seko was the introduction of the GMO Ebola to Africa. And 3. Sites around Africa and West Africa have over the years been set up for testing emergency diseases, especially Ebola. The World Health Organization and several other UN agencies have been implicated in selecting and enticing African countries to participate in testing events, promoting vaccinations but pursuing various testing regimens. The August 2nd, 2014 article, West Africa. What are US biological warfare researchers doing in Ebola zone? By John Rappaport of Global Research pinpoints the problem that is facing African governments. Obvious in this and other reports are, among others, A. The US Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases, USAMRID, and well-known Center for Biowar Research located at Fort Detrick, Maryland. Tulane University in New Orleans, USA, winner of research grants, including a grant of more than $7 million, the National Institute of Health, to fund research with the Lassa viral hemorrhagic fever. C. The US Center for Disease and Control. Doctors Without Borders, also known by its French name as Médecins Sans Frontières. E. Takemira and Canadian Pharmaceutical Company. F. UK's GlaxoSmithKline, here it is again, and G. The Kenema Government Hospital in Kenema, Sierra Leone. Reports narrate stories of the US Department of Defense funding Ebola trials on humans trials, which started just weeks before the Ebola outbreak in Guinea and Sierra Leone. The reports continue and state that the DoD gave a contract worth $140 million to Takemira, a Canadian pharmaceutical company, to conduct Ebola research. This research work involved injecting and infusing healthy humans with the deadly Ebola virus. Hence, the DoD is listed as a collaborator in a first-in-human Ebola clinical trial, NCT, blah, 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 which started in January 2014, shortly before an Ebola epidemic was declared in West Africa in March. Disturbingly, many reports also conclude that the US government has a viral fever bioterrorism research laboratory in Kenema, a town at the epicenter of Ebola outbreak in West Africa. The only relevant positive and ethical olive branch seen in all of my reading is that TheGuardian.com reported the US government funding of Ebola trials on healthy humans comes amid warnings by top scientists in Harvard and Yale that such virus experiments risk triggering a worldwide pandemic. That threat still persists. So there we go, PJ. I think you get the whole idea of it. GlaxoSmithKline, who are actually doing the vaccine, this vaccine from the previous article, and also I think that Canadian pharmaceutical companies in with it. But you know, it's pretty much self-explanatory about what really is going on. I think making some valid questions there. So you know.
I'm not sure if you're able to hear me on there properly. Being told I've got some gurgle.
You got some what?
Have I got a gurgle on my voice, have I?
Yeah, it's a bit wobbly, but I can understand what you're saying. But it's Yeah, yeah. I mean, there we are. That's my articles. I think people should just read around, join some few dots themselves. I mean, there's some very valid and important questions
Yeah.
raised in those articles. Perhaps people should start to ask these questions, um, even if they are ignored. They should still keep, trying to put these questions out there because, they need They need answers. People need answers. So there we go. All we can do is just put them out there, PJ, and
And encourage other people to do the same.
yeah, exactly. So there we are.
Okay, guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow with more Flux news.